All right. Hello, everybody. I'm your host, Lorenz Dean, and we're here with Stories from the Road to the Ring. And the star of Stories from the Road to the Ring is none other than the legend himself, Rugged Ronnie Garvin. How you doing, Ron?
I'm doing great. Good, good. Can't complain at my age. Don't do any good.
Good, good, good. Hey, listen. Oh man. So we got a couple of interesting things that's been developing since we last spoke. Well, I just wanna before we get started, I'm live right now on YouTube. So if you guys see me looking up from time to time, I'm actually looking at Rugged Ronnie Garvin. That's on Skype right now. We're doing a video and audio Skype, and it's on top, and then you guys are on the bottom as far as the live part on the YouTube. So if you see me looking up from time to time, which I will be doing, because I'm talking to Ron, just keep that in mind. And then later on, I will upload the full version as far as the video. Hey, what's going on, Vanessa? I'll upload the full video as far as on YouTube later on once it's edited and everything. But right now, that's what's happening, just in case you guys are wondering why I'm looking up. All right. So, yeah, a lot of things have been developing as far as in the world of professional wrestling and entertainment. So, well, let's start with the entertainment part. Vince McMahon. So, it's been said that Vince is not throwing in the towel just yet. The former WWE chairman is in the beginning stages of creating a new entertainment company, according to PWI Insider report that broke Tuesday afternoon, October 29th. Despite his ongoing legal issues, Mr. McMahon new venture is being described as an entertainment hub company and will reportedly focus on producing film and TV projects in the realms of fiction and nonfiction. So, what's your thoughts on that?
Well, Vince, you never know what he's going to come up with. He's a very smart man.
Yeah.
Uh, he's been very successful. So I don't know much about entertainment. But I don't know what kind. Is it in a sport or just entertaining?
Well,
It's hard to say.
well, they
There's a lot
said.
of things in entertainment. There's a lot of.
Mhm. Well, they said fictional and non-fictional. It gives me a feel like I don't know if you remember the American Gladiators.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if he does something like it's sort of like the American Gladiators, and then at the end you have to wrestle in a ring just to give it a twist. I wouldn't be surprised if he does it like that. I, you
Yeah.
know, like you said with Vince, you never know.
No, you never know. He comes up with. Usually they're good ideas too. You know. So I wish him luck.
Yeah, he still has his connection as far as in the entertainment world, as far as with movies and stuff like that,
Oh yeah,
because
yeah.
WWF was also dealing with WWF films, so they was definitely putting their footnote in the movie industry. So
That makes a difference.
yeah,
The connections you know, and, and he's got the money.
yeah,
That's the best part.
which is true, which is true. Um,
Now he earned it though. He worked hard. He earned it. You know.
do you think that a lot anybody would want to associate with him, being that he's going through his legal issues and stuff like that? Do you think?
Uh, I don't think so. It wouldn't bother me.
Right.
You know. I don't think he did. People, first of all, always said you become very wealthy. There's always somebody after you. They're either trying to sue you, trying to get some money, and so I don't know if I believe any of
Right. Right.
them.
Well,
It's impossible.
got you. How was Vince McMahon as far as the times that you dealt with him? Was he? They said he never slept.
Well, that's what they say. Pat Patterson was the booker at one time, and he told me, Pat told me himself, he said, we can't stay with him. You know, none of the guys could stay with him. The one on the road, there was always go, 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 and that's why he's successful. That's pretty like Donald Trump. He goes, and nobody can follow him.
Right. Right.
Energy, energy. So, especially if you like your job. I'm sure Vince likes, with all his success, to be involved still,
Hmm.
and maybe come up with something brand new. And it makes a lot of people talk
Right.
and wonder.
Gotcha. You've dealt well, as far as well, moving a little bit forward, there was a documentary that came out not too long ago, a couple of days ago. It was a documentary done on Bret Hitman Hart. It was
Oh,
called Bret Hart's Bitterness Documentary. They pretty much talking about how bitter Bret Hart has become, as far as with, and honestly, rightfully so. If you put yourself in Bret Hart's shoes, with deaths that happened, his career ending early, yeah, I definitely understand why he would have that bitterness and stuff like that. But I was just curious to find out your thoughts. In the beginning, they spoken about um, they spoke about how Bret Hart's childhood was very difficult growing up in a family with financial struggles. So he had a lot of brothers and sisters. How was your childhood like growing up?
well, we didn't have a big family. I only had one brother. Uh, we didn't struggle. We didn't have much. We didn't have a whole lot of money. We lived on a little bitty farm, enough to grow your food and animals, and we had milk, chicken. We had a small farm, but that's what sustained us, And I never went hungry. My mom used to sew. She had one of those sewing machine singer, and she had two sisters that were nuns, and they would send men's suit and all kinds of clothing. My mother would cut them all up and make us some suits. So they were very resourceful,
Right.
and we had a pretty nice house, but we didn't have electricity, so we had lamps, oil lamps, and lanterns, or whatever they call them. But I didn't consider it a hard time. It might be, because the house was warm. I had good parents. You win the lottery if you're born with good parents. But
Yeah.
you
100%.
don't pick them. You know, if you got lousy parents, but I don't think that was his case. I'm sure his parents were good, but they were working hard, and you know, and back in those days, a lot of people in the 40s and 50s, if you were on a farm, and things weren't easy. They worked from sun up to sundown, and go to church on Sunday. Maybe we should bring back some of that.
Right.
you know,
Right. Right.
a lot of people never experienced that.
Right. 100%. 100%. Um so okay, so moving forward, Bret Hart Bret Hart like many sons was striving for his father's respect as far as growing up in the wrestling family. So Stu Hart, which was the patriarch of the Hart family, operated a wrestling promotion in Calgary called Stampede Wrestling. Are you familiar with that company, Stampede Wrestling?
Yeah, yeah, yes, I am. Yep.
Uh,
It was out west, and I think Stu wanted Terry. I was partners with Terry Garvin. He wanted us to come a couple of times because he called Larry Kazabuski, was the promoter in Northville, Ontario, and he wanted us to come, but we never did make it. We was always busy. We got involved with the promotion, and but I would have liked to see him and wrestle there.
all right.
But I heard a lot of story about about Stu. You know, there was a lot of stories. There were fun things. You know, in the dungeon. Well,
Yeah.
that was fun to hear.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I
I was at their house. As a matter of fact,
Yep.
I
Yep.
went to their house one time. When that was that was in WWF. We went out to Calgary, and we got invited. And, met the family. Very nice people. Yeah, that was the last time. I only went there one time, but I was leaving after I was leaving the territory. I was retiring.
Okay. Okay. Wow. And I never asked you, Ron, were you're the first generation wrestler as far as in your family, or second? I never
Oh, no, no, nobody wrestled in my family.
Nobody wrestled
You
in your
know,
family.
no. Well,
Okay.
my dad was became an invalid at 27. He kind of brought himself up. He rehabilitated himself and could do quite a bit more later on. He got a job. That's when we moved to the city. Things got better. He had what was it called? Spinal meningitis,
Mm.
and back then that was pretty deadly.
Wow.
And I was 2 years old when that happened.
Wow. Wow. Unbelievable. Um, they spoke about how Bret Hart learned about professional shoot style wrestling from the basement part, as you mentioned, of his house, which was infamously called the dungeon. A lot of
Yeah,
Yep, a lot of wrestlers came out from the dungeon. Chris Benoit, well, obviously all the Harts. I'm trying to think of Mr. Perfect. I believe he came out. Kurt Hennig came out of the dungeon at one point. I believe there was a lot of guys that came out from the dungeon. You know, that was well noted.
yeah,
Okay, so they spoke about Bret Hart's sister. She used to get bullied in school. One day, Bret Hart showed up by himself to fight the bullies. They thought because Bret Hart was by himself that they was gonna have a one up over him, but Bret Hart ended up beating up both of the bullies that was bullying his sister. And that was the introduction to Bret Hart and the Dynamite. Well, that was the introduction to Bret Hart receiving his respect from his father. So, and you said you grew up with you was the older brother or younger brother?
I was the oldest. I only had one brother. Actually, what would I would have had a sister, but she died at birth. It was a miscarriage or something like that.
Oh,
So
I'm sorry to hear.
yeah, my brother's a year younger, but he was not interested in wrestling. He was not the type.
Gotcha, gotcha.
Well, I don't blame him. He became a mailman.
Okay, okay, okay. Um, the introduction to Bret Hart and the Dynamite Kid. Um, Kid was brought into Stu Hart's promotion, Stampede Wrestling. Then Bret Hart
Yeah,
and the Dynamite Kid were matched up, and they had pretty good matches. Bret Hart mentioned how the Dynamite Kid made him step up his wrestling game, actually become a better wrestler. Once he started wrestling on the Dynamite Kid, he started upping up the ante. Who would you say that you wrestled before in your past when you first started? Who made you better as far as a professional wrestler back in your time?
oh, there was quite a few, quite a few. When I started, I was the only kid in the dressing room most of the time. There might have been another young guy my age or a year or two older.
Hmm.
Uh, so I started. I was 17. I told everybody I was 19.
Hmm.
So I got away with it. But yeah, I learned from. I wrestled Bull Curry, Bull Montana. These guys they look like killers. You know, big old cauliflower ears. They were on their way out. You know, they were probably near the end of their careers. But I wrestled guys like that, and
Okay.
they kept me in the ring for like 45 minutes, almost an hour. And they'd get a hold of me after I was out of breath, can't breathe, and and then they just keep taking advantage of you. Give you elbows upside on the side of the head on both sides, trying to get cauliflower ears because all the wrestlers back cauliflower ears, the big old knob, and it was always on the driver's side. Because when they pull up at the light, they like to see the people in the car say, "Oh, there's a wrestler driving in the car."
Oh
That's
wow.
what they said anyway. But and I learned from Pancho Villa was probably the one that really gave me some of the best information. Roberto Pico, he wrestles
Right.
Pancho Villa, you know, and I'll never forgot. I wrestled him one time
Mm-hmm.
in Opelousas, Louisiana. Never forget that. The place was packed. It was a skating rink. It was pretty good size. There might have been 600, 700 people in there. And for
Uh-huh.
the days, that was a good crowd.
Right.
And of course, I had blonde hair. And in 1966 or 64, whatever it was, Louisiana, that would have been in 63. Uh, if you had blonde hair, you were automatically a gay guy.
Really? I remember
Oh
you
yeah.
saying that.
Oh yeah. They'd holler at you, you queer, you fag, blah blah blah. You know, and I got heat. And I wanted to wrestle as a heel, which I was. The
Uh,
whole beginning of my career, all the way till probably the middle of it, I was always a bad guy because I liked it. You know, and Pancho was a bad guy too. He was a big heel. He was a big guy. He was a lot
uh-huh.
bigger than I was. And he was an ex-boxer. And this guy had he he had so much experience. He said to me, he whispered to me, he says, "I'm gonna turn you baby face." I said, "No way to hell." Well, by the time people were not booing anymore, they felt sorry for me.
Oh wow.
Oh, I just did what he told me, and half of it I can't remember what I did.
Okay.
I was plus I was intimidated. You know, you wrestle with a guy like that, and he didn't hurt me. I mean, he took my hands and made holes in the ring.
Hmm.
He would put himself into a headlock. He did it himself. I was like a robot. But I never forgot when the match was over, man. I was a babyface. I didn't think it was possible.
Oh wow.
Roberto Pico.
Robert. I looked him up when the last time we spoke. I looked him up and stuff like that. Yeah, very interesting individual.
And Laverne was his wife.
And who?
And Laverne had a cauliflower ear.
Okay.
The last time I couldn't remember her name. It
Uh-huh.
was Anne Laverne.
And Laverne.
She had a big old cauliflower ear. She was a tough woman. Oh yeah.
She was also a wrestler.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. She was a big name back then.
Did she have any matches with Moolah, the fabulous Moolah?
Oh yeah.
Oh
Yeah. They had those women back then. They had some great matches. Yeah, they threw punches like guys. You know, not so much like women. Not that women are bad. It's just that
it was different back then.
they look like guys. The way they
Hmm.
maneuvered, and they were pretty good sized ladies. You know, but they knew how to wrestle, and that was all you needed back then.
Oh man. Um. Okay, so going back to the Bret Hart and Dynamite Kid, they spoke about the matches between Bret and Dynamite Kid. It was very brutal. One time, Dynamite kicked Bret Hart in the head while he was already bleeding, and which led to a huge gash on his head. Bret Hart and Dynamite Kid had a bit of a grudge against each other after their match, but at the end, it turned into respect. Bret Hart Bret Hart ended up saying that the Dynamite Kid was the original best there is, best there was, best there ever will be. Do you have any stories about the Dynamite Kid? Any run-ins with the Dynamite Kid? No?
I don't think I ever talked to them. I never was in the same dressing room. I don't know if they were there when I was there.
Hmm.
I know Brett was, but
Bret was. Dynamite wasn't. No, they wasn't.
because I didn't stay there that long anyway. I was there 2 years and I was gone.
Hmm. Hmm.
I never was around those guys, but because I would remember if I was in the dressing room, you know. Usually, you know, and a lot of guys didn't talk much.
Right.
You know.
Okay. Okay. Bret Hart's first introduction to the WWF was in Madison Square Garden, where he was a replacement for the Dynamite Kid after Dynamite Kid suffered an injury. This was the same arena where his
Uh,
father made a name for himself. They said Vince McMahon Jr. said that did not did Bret Hart was not big enough name to wrestle in Madison Square Garden. They took him off the card and paid him $500. This motivated Bret Hart to become better than what he was to prove to Vince McMahon. Now I'm concentrating on the pay now. I mean, I know he was looking to make a name for himself, like the father did as far as Madison Square Garden, but $500 back then, not for nothing. That was pretty good money, right? As far as you know,
Oh
as,
yeah. Compared to today, yeah, yeah, exactly. I remember when I got my first $90 payoff. You know, my God, people were making $50 a week in the '60s. You know, and I'm talking about average working work. Doctors, lawyers, and everything. They made more money, but that was about their salary, 50, $60 a week. You know, and I made $90 in one night. Times, a lot of nights it was 40, $50.
mhm.
But take consideration, the gas in those days was 19, 20 cents a gallon.
Wow,
So, and you go into a restaurant and have a big old plate of food for $1, and you left 10 cents tip. That was a big tip in
wow.
those days. People were happy.
You said 10 cents,
Yeah, 10, 15 cents. That was a
ten
tip,
fifty
you know
cents.
what I mean? Yeah,
Wow,
$1 plate. That's
wow.
10, 15%.
Okay,
People were happy. The waitress never complained, you know.
got you, got you, got you.
But what I'm telling you is, you show my age, huh? I'm going way back in 62, 63. Yeah,
Hey, listen,
yeah.
I won't say nothing.
But I mean, even my son, so, oh, Dad, you only made that? Yeah, back then that was good money.
Right, right, right.
But somebody born today or 30 years after that, later,
Forget it.
yeah,
Forget
we'll
it, man.
never see that again. Not the way things are going up.
You're right. You're absolutely right. Um, then they mention how Bret Hart ends up in the WWF as a package deal done by Stu Hart and Vince when Vince McMahon purchased Stampede Wrestling from Stu Hart. The deal was that Stu Hart was to Vince McMahon was to accept the Hart Foundation, which consists of Bret Hitman Hart and Jim the Anvil Neidhart, and the British Bulldog, which consists of Davy Boy Smith and Dynamite Kid, to be used as into Vince McMahon's promotion, the WWF at that time. So once Vince McMahon
Yeah.
purchased Stampede, he also purchased those four individuals as well. Now, I want to ask you, was Vince known to do that as far as in the territories? Did he purchase, as he purchased the territories, did he purchase like do you know if he worked out any deals similar to that one?
That's, that's the first I heard of.
Right,
No, well, maybe that was the deal. Maybe Stu wanted his boys to keep working,
right, right,
because WWF was, doing well. They were growing, is growing. Maybe that was why the deal was like that.
right.
You take my territory, and those guys have to be included. Well, that would make sense to me.
I know they
So
mentioned
that way,
mhm. I know they mentioned I forgot which one where it was that I heard this before, but I know Vince he definitely I don't want to use the word raided, but I mean that's the word that was used. The AWA territory. That's when me, Gene Oakland, all these guys that was the Vern Gagne's territory, I believe. That's what it was. The AWA, I believe.
but I give him credit. He asked him to. He asked to buy him. They all told him to go F himself. You know. Yeah, he he was fair about it. He said, "Well, I'll take it then." I don't know if some of them took it, or accepted it, but yeah, they laughed at him. They thought he was just a nut. Well, they were used to deal with his dad. His
Right.
dad was the same mentality as the rest of them, because they didn't have no vision about what was going to be 20 years from now. Look at the technology. It's amazing how some people can see that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I guess Vince just, in a way, I can't blame him. I mean, I want to take over wrespling or any job. I don't see anything wrong with it. It really didn't belong to them.
Right.
It was just for respect. See, the territories were, they call them territories. So if you were like say North Carolina. Well, North Carolina didn't go into Georgia because that was another territory. They respected themselves, so they didn't, you know, uh, go against the. They had agreed to it, I guess. That's why it was called NWA. They all belonged to the NWA, the same organization.
Right.
That way, they had access to a lot of talent because if North Carolina needed a couple of good wrestlers just for a week or two or occasion, whatever, they could call and they would send them a couple of the boys. And they just worked with each other. But Vince was totally outside of that. He was in New York,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And but when you got the money and talent, he had money. And I guess he just decided, well, he was turning it into entertainment.
Right.
Basically exposed the business. That's what made the promoters mad. They didn't want to. They didn't want to go that way. You know,
Gotcha.
they thought it was going to fail. They thought it was going to fail, and it was total opposite.
He gambled. Vince McMahon definitely gambled. And he took, yeah,
Yes, yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, Also, they talk about when the Hart Foundation and the British Bulldogs put on great matches. I remember those in the WWF. Bret Hart wanted more as far as displaying his skills outside the tag team realm. He wanted more one-on-one matches. He received his first shot as Bret Hart and the Dynamite Kid had a chance to wrestle, and they put on a wrestling clinic. They want because yeah, Dynamite Kid. To me, I don't know. I don't know. Well, I'm sure you've seen Dynamite Kid work, even though you wasn't around him. But to me, Dynamite Kid, he reminded me of a Chris Benoit. Like him and Chris Benoit had similar styles. I don't know why, but I've looked at him as similar. Yeah. Uh.
Well, that would make sense. You know,
Yeah.
a lot of guys. I ran into guys like that. They look like not look, but they work like another guy. You know, in the territory.
Right. Right. Right.
They work the way they handle themselves, the way they work. You know.
Yep. Um. When these matches happen, they end up winning everybody in that arena except Vince McMahon. Vince was looking for somebody who fits the mold of the WWF, more of a superhero bodybuilder stature. Bret Hart did not fit that mold, but Vince McMahon put him in the ring with somebody that did. This name may sound familiar. He put him in the ring by a name called the Canadian bodybuilder Tom McGee. I don't know if you ever heard of Tom McGee. Does that ring a bell?
I heard of. Never met him.
Okay.
Yeah,
Tom
I heard the
McGee.
name before, but I never met him.
You never met him. Okay. Bret Hart specifically told him, just do what I say. Don't ask any questions. When we have our match, and I guarantee you, you'll be hired. Bret Hart ended up making him look so good that Tom McGee was hired and Bret Hart was pushed to the back. That's that must have been an awful feeling. Like you do your job so well that you make the guy look like $1,000,000 that you don't even get recognized, and you make the other guy look so good that he's getting the push and you're getting like like whatever. Do you think that?
Yeah.
Do you think that's what happened to the Ultimate Warrior? Like because I heard Rude worked well with him, Hercules worked well with him. It took certain guys that worked well with him, and he started looking like $1,000,000 until he got in the ring with other individuals. Then he was like, "What the hell?" Then he got exposed.
Yeah. And the Ultimate Warrior didn't give a shit about the other guy because, man, you know, he was a dangerous man in the ring. You know, he didn't care about anything.
Right.
I watched him work. I never worked with him. I would have, because I think he wouldn't have been too hard to handle. But the thing you do with a guy like that, he was so clumsy. Tripped, he ran into the ropes, and he was always going 100 miles an hour. And you just blow him up. And once he's out of steam, you know, you can trip him and roll him and get behind him and ride him. You know, yeah.
You would have stretched him.
Even if he's a big guy, you know. He didn't know anything about wrestling.
I know. I know.
He didn't know anything. I guarantee if he went to a college wrestling, uh, most of them would have beat him.
Right. Yeah. 100%.
Most of them.
Um.
See, it's funny how people get over. They look like monsters, and some of them aren't.
Right.
He was pretty helpless. He just crisscrossed and ran all over the place, and his matches didn't last long. You know. Keep the guy in the ring for about 30, 40 minutes. Yeah, huffing and puffing.
Forget
A little
about
bit
it.
different.
Oh man. Um. Bret Hart made. Watch this. Bret Hart made McGee look so good that Vince McMahon thought that he was going to be the next Hulk Hogan.
I heard that. I heard that back then. There was some rumors, that I guess maybe he tried to convince himself that he was going to be Hogan, but it would have lasted very long because you know I heard he was not good at doing business with McMahon.
Right. 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 Right.
He didn't want to do this, didn't want to do that. The business. You didn't have any respect, for the business. Didn't have any respect for anybody. I could tell. I was around him a little bit. I never was friends with him. I didn't pay much attention to it, but I could hear guys talking. There was some guys that didn't like him.
Right. Right.
I don't. There was no fights, but I know that he was not liked a lot.
Mm.
Like Hulk Hogan. Hulk Hogan, man, he's very well liked.
Well, let me ask you. Here's another thing too. I've actually started watching matches from Japan with Hulk Hogan. Listen, I'm shocked. Hulk Hogan had to WWF limited Hulk Hogan to the moves that he could actually do. In Japan, oh my God, in New Japan, he had moves after I've seen him go on the top rope, and I'm like, that's Hulk Hogan? Like what the so I asked you this, and I know you're gonna chuckle with this answer. How would the Ultimate Warrior would have done in New Japan?
Oh, somebody would have stripped his ass. Somebody, yeah, they would have found one in Japan that could handle him. I think, make him look bad. I think it would have been that hard.
Right, right.
You come into a new business, you should be humble. You should be humble.
Right.
You don't have a background. Now, if he would have had a background, just like an Olympian guy, that he won the gold medal, and like what's his name? The other guy, what was his name?
With Kurt Angle.
The guy that was working. Kurt Angle. Yeah, you got a guy like that. A little bit different. But still, I guarantee he has a lot of respect. He came in, I can tell he's a respectful guy.
Yeah.
And Kurt Angle knew how to wrestle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You found most of the guys who really knew who had a shoot style background, they was very respectful, like you said. Yeah, definitely.
Oh yeah. Even though you got arms the size of tree trunks, doesn't mean that you can use them. They might be used against you.
Oh man.
I've seen some good fights in the dressing room. 2, 3 different times. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Smaller guy whipping the hell out of the guy. 2 big guys fighting. I've seen that too.
Well, can you name a time that I don't know if you could talk about it, but can you name a time that a smaller guy or a guy looked like he wasn't supposed to win a fight, a shoot style fight, and he ended up winning in the locker room? Like
usually those shoots never happen in the ring. It started there, mad, and it wound up, in a dressing room. But I remember another time, I can't remember his name. He was a real big guy, about 300 pounds. I'm bad on names. But they came in the dressing room, and all of a sudden, man, it exploded. Boom, boom, into the lockers, man, the metal, everybody. Then a lot of guys trying to stop it. can't remember. I was shocked.
Right.
You know, I was shocked because I thought the big guy was going to hurt him, but he ate him up.
Right. Right.
Well, you get somebody that got a heart, got a lot of heart, and like to fight, and know how to fight.
Right.
That's that's hard to beat.
Oh man. Wait. As wait. Hold on. Let me. Oh wow. Tony. Ron. I got Tony. I'm talking to Ron Garvin right now. We're
I was
live.
just playing with my phone, and how did I do that?
You press the video part. Uh,
I did.
yeah. Yeah. You called me through video, but this is not Skype.
That is not the right. Okay.
That's not
Well, let
Skype.
me go back. Well, let me go back and see what else I can do.
Well, listen. Say hi to Ron Garvin. I got Ron Garvin live right now.
Okay. Let me. Yeah, I got
Oh,
the
you.
new phone. I'm testing it.
Okay, got you.
All right. Let me go back. Say, hang up on me so I can hang up.
All right.
Here we go.
All right. That was Tony Atlas, everybody. Oh man.
Tony
He's,
Atlas?
yeah,
Oh,
he's learning how to use the Skype that we're on so that way we could do interviews. Because I was telling him
yeah.
when it comes down to doing interviews, instead of traveling and leaving your house, you could actually do these things. They'll be a whole lot easier. Instead of, the only
Yeah.
reason you guys should actually leave is to do autographs or meet or greet or whatever the case is. But when it comes down to, you could use these devices and then actually do the interviews from the comfort of your own home. So yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, see, that's a treat. You
Tony.
never know what could happen when we're on live. We had Tony Atlas drop in just now, so you never know.
Oh, man. He's a nice guy.
Yeah,
He's a nice guy.
yeah. um. So yeah. So going back to Bret Hart. So Bret Hart was on the road thinking that he was the first in the Hart family to make it that far in the wrestling business, but yet wasn't good enough. So that must have been a real bad feeling as far as you being the first as
Yeah.
far as in the Hart family, coming from a large family like he did, doing the best that
Yeah.
you can. And he was actually a real good technical wrestler as far as in
Oh,
my
yeah.
opinion.
Yeah.
But at the end, Vince was in love with the bodybuilders, the monster looking guys, the yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Well, even in the old days, there was some promoters that they wanted some light guys, like, 200, 220, 240 pounds.
Hmm.
They didn't like 300 pounders,
Hmm. Hmm.
290s, because their way of thinking was not as much action. And
Right,
there was a lot of big guys that were kind of slow. I don't know if they were lazy, they just worked slow.
right,
Not a whole lot of action.
right.
Get a hold and take the guy down and hold on to the hold. There was quite a few guys like that.
Hmm. 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 Um, in my personal opinion, Brett seemed like he was in a battle as far as for search of respect. First, it started off in the beginning as far as with his own father. Then he earned his respect with his dad as far as with fighting those bullies, and then his introduction to wrestling and dealing in the dungeon, the infamous dungeon. Now it's starting all over again as far as searching respect for Vince McMahon. Have you ever went through those situations that you wrestled for promotion and you felt like you wasn't being used the right way, or you wasn't your talent wasn't being displayed to the ultimate ability like it should have, and that you was trying to gain respect of that promoter? Have you ever been in that position?
Oh, yeah, I've walked out many times.
You what?
Yeah, I walked out. Well, I walked out after I won the world title, because I got shafted, and everything came from the booker,
Okay.
uh, probably jealousy, envy, whatever. They're afraid that you're going to take their spot, I guess. I don't know. I didn't want to take nobody's spot. I was always happy in my spot, my skin. I didn't want to beat somebody else.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
I won when I won the world title. Uh, I lost it. I never defended it. They didn't want to book it. I never defended that title. And I was ready to defend it every week.
Wow.
They didn't. You know why?
Why?
Strong.
There
You
you
know,
go.
and I waited a month and a half. I had it almost 2 months, a month and 3 weeks for the rematch,
Mhm.
and I lost. I lost the belt, and for all the years I was in the business, you always had 2 to 3 rematch
Okay.
in different cities. Try to get it back, you know, and then go on about something else. If you don't succeed, you go on. That never happened. Never had another match for the title.
Wow.
So I'm not bitter because I never did give a crap about any of people's ego or whatever they want to do. I walked out of there, and the way I did it is that was after I had won the belt.
Mhm.
Is Dusty Rhodes wanted to turn me heel, so which is fine.
Mhm.
I didn't mind, but he was going to give me Perez as a partner, and the other guy I can't what's his name. He was a manager. Uh, what was his name?
Oh,
Anyway, he was going to manage me. We were going to be a tag team, me and Perez, and then anyway,
not Mr. Fuji.
the
No.
deal is no. White guy, big good
Freddie
tall guy.
Blassie.
No, he managed a lot of guys. I think he managed Mr. Perfect or something.
Um.
I don't know. I can't remember. Oh, if I hear his name, I know.
Yeah, I'm trying to think.
Uh, anyway, the deal was he offered me $500 to knock Dusty Rhodes out in the ring. Go in the ring, interfere in the ring, knock him out. You know, that was in not Buffalo, but was the other time? Baltimore, Maryland. That was over ago. I had beat Jake the Snake. I had beat Mr. What was $1 million man. I
Mhm.
was over at that time.
Mhm.
Boy, anyway. So I said, I'll do it. I did. I went to the ring and knocked him. I tapped him on his shoulder while he was turned around, and boom, I knocked him out. He laid there, flopping. And I went back to the room and money. What he was going to do, he was going to book us. He was going to him against me and Perez and what's that guy's name? And we were going to go around to different cities and play the
Okay.
tape. You know, that was his revenge. He was going to do a promo on TV about Ronnie Garvin or kick your ass, I guess, stuff like that. Well, we were going to do the TV on Saturday, and that was going to happen. Where I was going to turn, I already had turned on Dusty, so I was going to turn on somebody else down in Georgia where we did the TV.
Right.
Well, I got on the airplane. We had private planes. Crockett had bought 2 airplanes. So I'm into the airport. I walked all the way to the back of the airplane. I shook hands with all the guys that I knew.
Mhm.
And I said, see you later. Where you going? I'm going home. I walked out the plane. Even the pilots didn't believe it. They said, hey, hurry up. He said, don't mess around. We got to go. We got to go. I said, I'm not going. You guys are going on your own. I got off the plane and went home.
Oh wow.
And then Dusty wrote me and the TV program, and he says, meet him up in a bar. Yeah, that was his revenge. He told the people that he had beat me up in the bar. I went home. I was the one laughing. Yeah, I didn't care. Yeah,
Right.
they think, because I got screwed early on in the business. So, didn't bother me. When I was tired in one place, I just left. I did many places. Never told them. I said, I'm out of here. Goodbye.
You had options, and you never let the business hold anything over you.
No,
That's the beautiful
no.
thing. Yep. Yep.
I busted my butt in the ring, and I figured, well, if they don't want to pay me right, you know where to go.
Got you. Got you. Got you. Um, in the early '90s, the world found out what Bret Hart knew all along, that he was the best damn wrestler on God's green earth. Bret Hart at that time, he wrestled 5-star matches upon 5-star matches with some of the greatest singles competitors that the world professional wrestling had to offer, which eventually led him to win the IC championship, which was the Intercontinental Championship, then ultimately the world's heavyweight championship as far as the WWF heavyweight championship. So
Yes.
when you had your moments as far as WWF, was there any talks as far as you possibly winning the Intercontinental title of that nature? Any talks of that or
No, no,
no?
I want to, but I've had people tell me, "Oh, you want this belt, this belt, this belt." Belt never excited me. You know, it was the money. You know, what I come up with at the end of the year, how much money was it worth me putting my body out there? You know, having a good time, taking my 2 weeks off a year. Almost, you're on top, man, and you're gonna leave. Yes, I'm leaving. I'm going to hunt. That's my religion. You know, and it was. I never missed it. You know, so I never. And I treated the promoters for, you know, but there was one in Tennessee, not Memphis, but Nashville. You
Right.
know, what a Goulas. What a piece of crap that was. That man was, you know, really. And there was a few like that, but there was more that were honest. There was one in Oregon. I can't remember his name. Oh, he was so honest. If he didn't sleep if he owed you a nickel. Jim Crockett.
Jim Crockett.
Jim Crockett promoted senior. Oh my God, he was, you know, he treated me like I was his son sometimes. One time I had a match and he embarrassed me. He was in the dressing room. He came in the dressing room and he sat down. And there's a lot of old timers around back then. He says, "Man, I want you guys to watch. This is a wrestling match. This is what I call wrestling." He went on, and I'm going, "Oh my God,
Hey.
these guys, I'm going to have heat," you know. But you know, and I enjoy wrestling. I went in the ring. I enjoyed it, and you know, the first thing I told some guys, I said, "You know, the problem if you don't have a good match is because people don't believe that you're in a fight.
Right. Right.
They believe that you're douchebags rolling around in there pretending to be hurt, and you know, and you missed your punch by 6 inches, and the guy was out of the ring. You know, I mean, it's embarrassing. You know,
Look,
I watched the matches in the old days. It's a lot more embarrassing. You know, today I don't watch it.
I'm gonna give you a lot of credit.
Go out there.
This is
It's fun to go out there.
Yep. This is where I give you credit. When it came down to when I used to watch you fight, you the punches that you threw was realistic. Everything that you did, it looked realistic. It looked like something that would be done if you was a real fighter out in these streets. Everything that you done, you could do out in these streets. Like um, even down to when you started firing up, you started getting angry. It had me laugh because I was like, I see myself getting pissed off similar the same way too, and just
Well,
would take a good hit. That's what you used to do. Just like, well, that's why you and Greg the Hammer meshed so well. You took one good shot to get two good in, or you took two good shots to get one good in, and yeah, that was
yeah.
yep.
Well, you know, plus it helps to have a great guy to work with.
Hmm.
You know, and I had good guys to work with.
Hmm.
You know, I mean, the best. You know, some I consider the best. You know, Greg. And, you know, there was so many of them. There's a lot of talent in NWA. There was a lot of talent.
Hmm.
And when I got to New York, that was a blessing. When I saw Greg, I said, "Man, this is the guy I want to fight." You know,
Oh man,
because if people sit out in the crowd, in the audience, and they
right,
don't believe that it's a fight, you get big believers out of it.
right.
You know, especially when they're sitting close to you. I used to hit the guys. I touched them. Believe me. You know, a lot of guys never complain.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like when I chopped. I chopped. You know, but I would never give anybody what I would take.
Gotcha, gotcha.
I mean, yeah, you know,
Um,
going to complain about the match, you'll complain to somebody else. That's somebody else.
yep. It's like you in the wrong business. We in the hurt business.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, I can see, you know, if you break the guy's leg or his arm or
Right.
something, or must stole his teeth out of his mouth. But there's no way to do that. And the more wrestling you do, the better it is anyway. They can't see through that.
Correct. Correct. Correct.
Can't-
Um. Ultimately, Bret Hart won something that he has been searching for quite some time: the respect of WWF promoter Vince McMahon. So after putting on those 5-star matches upon 5-star matches, Vince actually now started looking at him. Um, I actually, I actually think this was also during the time that that whole steroid situation that Vince started had no choice. I'm not gonna say started. I felt like he had no choice but to move away from the bodybuilders and start looking more at the realistic looking guys. Just until the heat was off, type of thing. He started looking into the Bret Harts, the
Yeah,
Shawn Michaels, the all of those type of guys. Um, fast forwarding, fast forwarding to the Attitude Era, where Bret Hart, seeing the traditional values that the WWF used to have, was slowly withering away to the new Attitude Era that was being led by Shawn Michaels. I never asked you, do you have any Shawn Michaels story?
no, no, not really.
No.
Uh, he was around. He was tag team with. He had a partner.
Marty Jannetty, the Rockers. Yep.
Yeah, the Rockers. Yeah, yeah. No, I just he was around, and we never did anything together. You know, seemed to be a nice guy. He was a good worker. I can't remember his partner's name.
Yeah, Marty Jannetty.
Partner Genetic. Yeah.
Yep.
He was a wild one.
You have any
Yeah,
stories on him?
I heard a lot of stories.
Yeah. Hey,
But,
Marty doesn't shy away from those stories. He's told a lot. Yeah.
as a matter of fact, I think they might have flew with me. Him and Marty Genetic. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I know. I've known him. I mean, but I never was around a lot, so I don't have the. You know, they're younger than me quite a bit. So, they had all the girls anyway.
Oh man, that's it. Um, Bret Hart's noticed that that the good guys at that time during the Attitude Era, Bret Hart noticed that the good guys became the bad guys, and the bad guys ultimately became the good guys, and that they was pushing a lot of raunchiness, sex, and they was pushing the kids as far as the younger generation, the younger audience. They was pushing them away, bringing in more of the 18-year-old demographic to the 30-year-old demographic, which ultimately made it unsuitable for the kids to watch. What were your thoughts? I mean, at that time during this was 90, 96, 97.
Oh, see, I left in '90,
You left in 90.
so I wasn't around for
Okay.
1998 November. So from 91, 92, 93, I was gone.
Did you continue watching the product?
No.
No. Okay. Okay. Okay.
Well, I was busy too. I went to Puerto Rico for a while. Did all kinds.
Right.
I stayed. Oh, and that was flying cargo too. So in the '90s, yeah, '91, I think that's when I got the job flying freight,
Mm-hmm.
flying cargo. And
Oh,
wrestling was a long, long ways away from me.
yeah. It was-
And started to have all kinds of guys that I didn't know. And if you don't know the boys, it's not really interesting.
right. Right. No, I got you. I got you. Um, Now this starts the rivalry between Bret Hitman Hart and Shawn Michaels. These two men did not like each other. Bret became frustrated with Vince McMahon's new vision of the Attitude Era, but Shawn Michaels embraced it. So it was pretty much pushing out the old, entering the new. Did you ever have a situation during your times in wrestling that you wasn't too keen about the way a promoter was doing business or the way he was pushing his promotion, that you was like, I'm gonna go somewhere else? Or again, maybe you had issues, you had heat with a certain wrestler. Did you ever have bump heads with a certain wrestler or
No,
even a promoter?
not Not really. Well, the way I handled life was how much money am I,
Uh-huh.
and if I was satisfied with what I was making,
Mhm.
and I'm not going to argue. You don't want to pay me, you know, I bust my butt. And if you don't see it, then
Mhm.
it didn't bother me. I went somewhere else.
Right.
There was 32 different promotions. And a lot of the boys never realized, hell, man, we're so lucky. Because if you get fired or you quit one place, you can start somewhere else the next day. Because I had promoters over the years to call me. When you're done over there, we'd like to have you over here. Minnesota, places like that. And I didn't want to go north. So that was, but yeah, I could have wrestled 100 years, always had a job. And the money was good, I stayed. But the money was not good, I didn't stay.
Right.
And it was a hell of a luxury to have a place where you got a job for your whole career. And some guys stayed in one territory for 20 years. Never left. I like to change my scenery, and I figured after about 2-3 years, it's time to move on anyway.
Right.
And I was getting offers. Some kept their word, some didn't.
Someday.
Oh man, I'll do this, I'll do that. And you get there, and none of that is done. I had one time. I left the next day. I got there one day, went to the office. I left the next day.
Wow.
They just saw me. Didn't last one day.
Oh boy.
Went to the office, introduced myself, and now they give me my booking for the week. Back then, they give you a booking for the whole week.
Right.
And I forgot exactly what happened, but I didn't show up. I turned around and went somewhere else.
It happens.
If you're not independent, they take advantage of it.
Correct.
That's the thing they told me in the business. There was poor guys back in the days that had families. They were probably 30, 40 years old and didn't have a whole lot of money, and they had a family, kids, and everything, and the promoters screw them because they knew they couldn't really afford to leave.
Mm-hmm.
And to take it.
Mm-hmm.
The worst thing you can be in the world is when you're broke. People take advantage of that. Use you as a slave.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Once they have you by the balls, then that's when they exploit you. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yep. 100%. Oh man. Oh, but before we continue, I just want to give a shout out to a couple of people that's live with us before I shut down the live. Yes, I'm gonna be shutting down the live. For you to get this whole video, you just have to wait until it's uploaded. Then you'll be able to see myself and Rugged Ronnie Garvin. But this was just a little insight that we're doing right now. Shout out to Vanessa. Shout out to Thomas Seth. Am I saying it right? He said, "Hey, what's up, bro?" Lucas Barbosa. Hey, what's going on? Lucas? Long time, Lucas. Long time. Hope all is well. Shout out to Willow. They asking Trump or Kamala. Let's see. The fifth Helen Drive. Hello, congratulations. Me and my sister gave birth. Now I'm a dad. Congratulations, man. Congratulations. Thomas Isef, if you don't mind me asking, what is your hobby? Well, I love working out when I get a chance to. I ride the bike. What's your well, your hobby is actually is it, well, I think they was asking you this. Oh, I'm sorry about that. Who cares about me? It's not about me. They asking you this, Ron. What's your personal hobby as far as your favorite hobby? One of the fans was asking.
Well, I go to the gym 3 times a week.
Mm-hmm.
I like fishing.
Mm-hmm.
I like hunting. I'm an outdoor person. In summertime, I like to be at the lake with a pontoon boat and do some fishing and just sit out there and get some rays. Just relax. As I used to be. I'm no spring chicken. But I stay active. My wife is active.
Good.
Plus, she pushes me.
Good.
Takes good care of me.
There you go.
I have the best, man.
You look like $1 million.
Well, thank you.
There you go. There you go. Keep
Thank
it
you.
up.
I think attitude is everything.
Yep. 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 I
Yes.
remember you was telling me that. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
Because if you're down in the dumps, you won't come back out.
Oh
Really,
yeah.
some people are down and they, and I think it makes you sick. I think it's not. I don't think it's healthy,
Right. Right. Yeah.
especially with the negative about everything. And you see people like that. It's
Mhm.
sad. You know, be positive, man. It's energizes you.
100%. It goes a long way. Oh man. Give me 1 second, Ron. I'm gonna shut down this live. Hey folks, thank you for joining us live. I'm gonna shut this down, but I'm gonna continue the conversation with Rugged Ronnie Garvin. Yes, this has been stories from the road to the ring with none other than Rugged Ronnie Garvin. We're gonna continue it. Expect the full interview to be loaded up right here on Don Devine on YouTube. So make sure you guys subscribe to Don Devine on YouTube so you get notified once we upload videos on a weekly basis. We're always putting up shorts and full interviews. So definitely thank you for watching. Till next time.